Well, friends, it's the end of an era. This is episode 6 of You're on Mute, the BVCFA podcast, and my final episode as your VP Communications and Engagement. This episode is to commemorate all the wonderful members from the School of Global Access, whose doors have unceremoniously closed after several decades of life-changing work. Over 100 faculty have now left Bow Valley College, and some 1,300 students. This is my gift to them, and my gift to those who remain, so that our legacy lives on in the stories and the relationships that we leave with in our hearts. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome back, because I have previously been a
Co-host.
hangout co-host.
Co-host. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a really great intro because I was laughing. So listeners, you have no idea what went on in between hitting record on this, but we both just looked at each other and we're like,
here we go.
How do we start? Okay, my name's Darren McKay, and I am a co-host of the podcast, and this is...
I'm Jason Andrews. I'm a former co-host, now a guest of the BVCFA podcast.
Yeah.
And and the final entry in this from, whoever takes it over. Is someone going to take it over?
Well, I mean, I guess somebody could be ambitious and take it over. So
okay.
I started this podcast in... I don't know, this is the 6th episode in the 4 years that I've been the VP of Communications. So it's been a little sporadic, not going to lie. But if somebody wants to take up the mantle, whoever is elected after me,
okay.
I mean,
there you go.
Some pretty big shoes to fill.
It's a pretty big shoes to fill. I was going to say, have you seen what we've put, what's been put out?
Have you seen what we've done? I just think back on all of the fun things. My very first podcast that I made was I interviewed Minister David Eggen.
Oh yeah,
and,
I remember you telling me that, and then I felt when I came on as co-host, I felt very intimidated. I was like, oh my god, well, I don't know if I can keep up with a minister.
The minister. Anyways, yeah, he was one of the critics for the Minister of Advanced Education, so he talked to me. Anyway, so it's been really neat. But this episode is focusing on the School of Global Access, as per my very sad intro earlier. We are closing our doors. A lot of ums. How do you what do you say, right? But I think we've got some stories.
We have lots of stories. We have decades, 60 years worth of stories, and there's so many people who have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've been here 10 years.
Is it 10?
Yeah, I got my 10-year service
award. Oh my God. You walked across the
just
stage.
In time.
Okay, let's be honest for a moment. That was really tacky.
Yeah, it was not good.
Parading us across the stage and then laying us off less than we could.
Yeah, not so hot.
We're not bitter. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was. At the same time, I wanted it.
Of course.
I wanted it. I wanted a piece of paper. Because then, at least for my next employer, I can go, look, I was there 10 years. I did it. It is I don't know. Well, okay. And I have to say though, but for a millennial, because I supposedly, and again, this is overgeneralizing.
Wait a minute, I don't know if you're a millennial.
I'm a millennial, and it's we're notorious. There's a stereotype out there that millennials don't stay in one job for too long.
True,
so that's why I was very proud to get my 10 years to go. Look, mainly so I can show my parents, look, Dad, I'm a millennial who made 10 years in one job.
I believe in hard work. What are you talking about?
I do, yeah.
So 10 years. So you started in 2015.
Yep.
Where did you start? What was your first
job
here?
So like I was telling you earlier, it was I had finished my linguistics degree. I'd moved back I was living in Vancouver, and I moved back to Calgary to take care of my mom. And actually, and the first job I got when I got back was actually at Bernard Callebaut, a chocolate shop. That's where I was working.
Why didn't you stay there?
I did for a while. I taught here and did my chocolate shop sometimes.
10 years at Callebaut.
10 years at Callebaut. Actually, it was amazing because and those were some of, it's funny. Those were some of, Christmas time, everyone's dropping gifts at for everyone. Those were my first gifts to people and stayed my tradition the whole time. Because I worked Callebaut during the day and then I would teach in the part-time evening at night. So I'd take the train over and then teach in the evening. And so I remember Christmas time, I'd always drop chocolates with everyone because I'd get this huge discount. It was 50% off on chocolates. So yeah. So you
ingratiated yourself to people right away.
Right away, I was on it.
And that's why you've been here 10 years.
10 years. They're just like, Jason, that's a chocolate guy. But again, I wasn't known as the chocolate guy right away. I was, like I was saying, I just thought this was so funny because I pulled up this old email just to see what my introduction was to the, welcome everyone.
Your, bio.
Yeah, that little bio that they share and they go, give everyone, welcome Jason to this, but at the time it was the see, I just lost it. We had it earlier.
Center for excellence in immigrant and intercultural advancement.
CEIA. CEIIA. It's the double I's that trips you up. You're even if you were CEIA, you might go, okay, no problem.
Okay, but the acronym is terrible.
It's so bad. It was I'd always get tongue tied when I tell people just now. It's 10 years later and I still get tongue tied. People would be like, where do you work? And I'd be like, oh, I work in the for CEA. Anyway, I work at Bow Valley College. BVC. So three-letter acronyms are the best. So yeah, I remember I was reading it. It was so funny because when I found this job, I was perusing. So I had applied for two. I remember I applied for two jobs at the same time. One at the Bank of Montreal to be a teller, and then different. And then I saw this, and they were like, oh, because they wanted someone with a linguistics background. But they also it was on Indeed, and it was and in it had this other caveat, which I thought was so weird, which was it was really, really adamant that it was looking for someone with a linguistics background.
Yeah.
And computer science.
That's an odd combination.
Not a combination. And it was so weird because they were they were the job posting was very adamant about this. So to give myself an edge, because I had taken a number of comp sci courses in my undergrad because someone said hey, what are you going to do with a linguistics degree? Yeah. And so someone was like, oh, well, you should have kind of a minor. So I had a bunch of comp sci courses. So I really oversold that in my application. I was like, oh yeah, I took this and I even moved all the comp sci courses in my resume to the front to really emphasize that I had this in linguistics. But it was hilarious because it totally backfired when I got hired because, well, number one, it was Dale and Jody who interviewed me. And they mainly asked me questions. They asked me all teaching questions, nothing about comp sci wasn't even mentioned.
I would imagine.
And then later on, but in this introduction, there was this point, who I can't even remember who wrote it, but anyway, it was it was put out and anyway, it said, Jason's got his background in linguistics, blah, 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 and he's done this. And then it said, and he's got a background in computer science. And that's how it finished, which was hilarious because then all the teachers, everyone who encountered me when I started subbing and stuff were like, oh, you're the computer guy. And so I became the unofficial IT guy in the department. And they would call me over and be like, hey, my thing isn't working. Can you check this out? I'm like, I don't know this as much as you don't know this. So I was, and sometimes I would just to be nice, because I didn't want people to not like me because I was just new here. So I would actually try to fiddle with their computers and go, oh no, I think I made it worse. I think I broke it. And then they'd have to eventually just call IT.
And that should be your first choice.
And they did. And it was so funny because the IT person would come and they would always, and then they would be kind of mad at me. They would be like, yeah, he couldn't fix it. And he's got a background in computer science. Whatever, man. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
You put that as like the tagline on your signature.
Just
Has
like,
background in
has background in comp sci. Yeah, that was like my first one.
Okay, but you do have a background in linguistics, which is very helpful in teaching English.
It is, yeah. I mean,
so that's good.
It made it wonderful teaching English.
Yeah.
Like I got to nerd out about grammar all the time and bring all of that. Like, yeah, I mean, and it was funny, you know. Like I think about when I applied to Bernard Calabo, and the woman working there, like the manager who hired me, was like, "Oh, linguistics. Like, what are you gonna do with that?" Like that was like the number one thing. And I mean, I've put it to use.
You really have
for 10 years.
Like
yeah. So the question is,
decade.
what are you gonna do with it? Yeah. Well, I mean, a 10-year like a 10-year career.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, what was like your first sort of teaching experience here then? Like.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I remember all my first time. It was, you know, honestly, like my first time here was really like, it was magical. Like I don't know, like I was so jazzed to be here. It was like I was general part-time. The first 2 courses I taught were intermediate grammar and intermediate vocabulary.
Okay.
And I remember my first, like the first person who was like so nice to me and helped me out was Greg Danowski.
Oh,
and he taught it. And he had this like binder, and then he was moving on to something else, and it was being passed on to me. He just gave me this massive binder. He goes, "Here you go." And he's like, and then I remember going to him with so many questions. "Oh, Greg, sorry. Do you want me to do this? Oh, okay, Greg, sorry." So like, I remember asking him so many questions, and like, yeah, and I just remember that part-time area, like, and it was so, I don't know, it was always just like humming, you know, like it had this incredible sense of community. Come in and like, it was just buzzing, like everyone getting ready for class. And I remember, because my courses, the 2 first courses I taught, they weren't length, they were like general. Yeah. And at that time they took, oh my God, I remember the intermediate vocabulary, because they were just like people, like anyone could sign up for it, and it was paid, right? Like, so they would like, you know, like, so someone would be like, "Oh, I want my mom to take some extra language classes in the evening." So, but it was funny because like there was no, like they could just sign up. But as far as I know, again, no, Jody might correct me on this, but like I remember there wasn't an initial like test, or I don't think, or anything, or like placement test. So like, you know, it was really
like signed up for the course that you thought was your best fit.
Yeah, like you kind of were like, I think I'm intermediate. So you would like, so you'd sign up. Because oh my goodness, I remember the first time I taught this course, and I had all of them there. I was just like I was so fresh as a teacher, and like, even if you ask Jody, like I even told him, like, you know, you must have taken a chance on me, because like at the time I had just like, I was just tutoring small groups like out in this like education center in BC, like in Vancouver, and like I hadn't had like a full class.
Well, you've never been in a classroom and been like, I'm the teacher.
Like, no. I was like, I was more a helper. Like, I was like, okay, I was very assistant, but never like where like I'm leading the class. And so, yeah, I mean, they took a real chance on me. So this was the first time I stepped in front of this class. I love that. Intermediate vocabulary. Yeah. And I'm so jazzed because we're talking about parts of speech, and I'm like ready to nerd out.
You got this.
About with all my linguistics stuff. I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah. And I get this one student who, like, I go, okay, so like, let's talk, like, what is a noun? And I get into a noun, and like, and then you can see the others they're spattering, and like, and then this one lady just keeps nodding at me and smiling, and I'm like, oh, like, and I looked at her, and I just keeps nodding and smiling and going, yes, to everything. And then I go over and I go, wait, do you know what a noun is? And then she says her name. She like introduces herself, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a proper noun for sure. Like, yeah, like you're not.
That's a noun. Yeah,
you're not so far up, and then suddenly I start to go, oh no, like. Oh, you're definitely not intermediate. And I had to like rush to Jody and go, Jody, I don't know what to do with this student. Like, I've got a student who's definitely not intermediate. And he was so like, this was pretty, I hadn't encountered this yet where, you would do like shuffling. People, yeah, so I hadn't encountered any of that. So Jody was really chill about it. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. Like, we'll just like move them. And it wasn't a big deal. But it was so funny. Like, I just remember just like it felt like I had crashed and burned the class. I was like, oh, sorry. Like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, hold on, class. And like, but she was so overwhelmed. Like, she was just looking at me like, I don't know, write it down, like, and you know,
Yeah.
she wasn't like translating it, so she's just like, yeah, write it down, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do here.
Oh, that's
So yeah, no, it was that was my first intermediate vocabulary.
Oh my
that was my
gosh.
first
And I think
first
that
class.
you've done before you got full-time work, which
Yeah.
wasn't long, I don't think, but you
Yeah.
did some subbing, didn't you?
Oh, I did tons of
Isn't that fun?
Oh, I love
Like
I
stepping
actually
into someone else's
Oh, I
classroom
actually I loved subbing because it was
Yeah.
like you just get to come in and be fun with the class and like have a good time and it's all ready for you. And
Yeah.
although this is a great story because I remember this, so I remember this way back. And I was actually just telling Diane this, and Danica yesterday.
Mhm.
And so this was hilarious. I love this story. So, and I actually used to tell this to the Ace TESOL students, to say,
Right.
in language education, you have to be ready to go. Sometimes there will be nothing there. So
Mhm.
I remember on my phone, and it's still in there. Look, if we go to the contact right now, look at this. I'm going to show you
How
this.
do you have these things? They don't archive on you?
Look at this.
That's crazy. I'm totally going
Look
back
at
to all
this.
my emails to see.
Charlene, Bow Valley College Subline. It's the bat phone. And I programmed it so it had the bat theme. It was like, because I was on call, right? So I would get a call, I would sometimes be in bed and I get a call 6 a.m. You get this call and it's like, and I'd look and there'd be the picture of the bat phone on my phone. And I go, all right, time to teach. And I'd get up. Again, I was very jazzed. I didn't come in here. I was super excited to have, just to be here. I was because I was so fresh out of school. I was I was just so jammed.
Gotcha.
So it was funny. So 6 a.m. get the bat phone rings, and anyway, Dale's like, oh, can you come in? And it's middle of winter, and I go. I take the bus. I was living in Edgemont at the time. And I go and I take the bus, down to Dalhousie, take the train, and anyway, I come in. And the teacher was sick that morning. I can't even remember who I subbed for, but it was they were just sorry, there's nothing ready. And I had to meet Dale at the classroom, so I met her at the classroom, and there they are. There's 25 students.
Yeah.
And Dale looks at me and goes, "Yeah, you did improv, right?" And I go, "Yeah, I did improv." And she goes, "All right, improv. Good luck. Have a good class." And she's like, "You're teaching till I don't know, it was 8 to 12 or whatever. She's like, "You're teaching till 12. Good luck." And then she just left. And I was just standing there. No lesson plan. Nothing on the board. And 25 students just going, "All right, what's up? What do you got for us?" And I'm going, okay. And I ended up actually doing improv with them. I did an improv game, because I remember that was some of the first kind of fun PD stuff I did was
I remember that.
was bringing improv into developing grammar. So that was it. That was the moment where I was okay. And I thought up, I took Dale's suggestion. I know she's being sarcastic, but I took that suggestion. I was all right, I'm going to run with it. So I thought of an improv game and I was oh, this is kind of grammar based. And then I asked the class, I'm what are you learning right now? And they were oh, we're doing they were learning present progressive. And I said, oh, perfect. Let's do what are you doing? And so we played what are you doing? And so that was hilarious.
That couldn't be any more perfect. But I think that's the mark of a great teacher is being able to walk in with nothing and pull something out of your hat.
Yeah.
And so clearly.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I felt like a great teacher. I felt like I was in survivalist. I was
I've had a few moments like that.
Yeah. But I definitely think there's that's part of the art of teaching is living in the moment. You have your lesson plan, you have this, but you live very in the moment in the class with the students.
And you're there and you're present with them, right?
Yeah, you're present with them.
Well, it just speaks volumes to the instructors here in the School of Global Access. It's every single one of them could probably tell you a story when things went awry and they figured it out. Yeah. And sometimes the students are none the wiser.
Yeah.
Right? I've walked into classes before where it's I was sick last night. I'm pulling myself to which is don't do this. This is bad advice. I pull myself to work because it's so much work to create a sub plan because I'm way too detailed.
Oh yeah.
So I just go.
Here. It's the detailedness, right? Yeah. And
you walk in, no plan, and I'm all right. So, And then it just starts coming.
Yeah.
And then the students have no idea.
Yeah.
And then if you're just not feeling it, you're not feeling like you can stand up there and like deliver a mini lecture.
Yeah.
You're not feeling like you can actually give a good quality lesson. It's like, okay, so here's some research. You're going to take these questions. You're going to have these questions. You're going to have these questions.
Yeah.
When each group does all their different questions, you're going to come together and you're going to teach each other.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, okay, you've got all these little back tools.
You
in your back
do.
pocket.
Well, and that's what we would like, even in the A's class, we taught that. Like,
Yeah.
you got these tools, but like, you pull them out when you need them. And like,
do. Yeah, exactly.
and it was, it was funny because I always remember we used to say to the A's students, because, you know, they, like, you know, when you're learning a methodology, you know, your lesson plans are so detailed. And
Yes.
and it was always like,
Yeah.
and I would be like, no, sometimes like in real teaching, your lesson plan is like a sticky note, like on a morning with like 3 bullet points. And you're like, 3 bullet points, a few handouts, and you're like, let's do this.
No.
And then you're going to maximize every moment.
Yeah, exactly.
In those activities. Yeah.
There's some skill involved for listeners who don't know what ACE TESOL is. It's the teaching teachers. It's teaching future ESL teachers.
Future ESL
and that's
teachers,
a program that we also had in the School
yeah.
of Global Access
We
that has
did.
now been, I think, maybe bought by a different I don't know if that's the term.
I don't know.
I think it's probably going to be taken on by some other institution. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, but there's so
I
much.
know.
The history of this place is so rich.
It is.
And I don't think that we can capture this. And we've been talking for almost 20 minutes now, Jason. But like,
oh, I know.
I don't think that in talking to 4 people, we can really capture the scope of the legacy that this school is going to be.
And the level of, like, well, honestly, you know, just being here over the last decade, I mean, I have seen, you know, you included, like, I've been in your class, I've been in there, like,
oh really?
Of course, like,
I don't
but that's the beauty, you know,
anymore.
that's the beauty of it, you know, like, I've had the opportunity because we're, you know, I know out there, and I think that's what made this place so special is like, you know, I read about it all the time. I remember like you get PD sessions at conferences about it, but it's actually pretty rare out there in academia and in schools, like for teachers to be so highly collaborative with one another.
Yes.
Like it is not like what we had here is not the norm out there.
No, you're right.
And so, you know, it's amazing because even just in school, like in my education graduate work, like, you know, we talk about that and I don't know, like there's always this kind of, oh yeah, you know, I wish we had this. Like I hear from other people at other institutions. It's like, oh yeah, no, we don't really talk to each other. They don't share resources with each other. They don't co-teach. They don't do any of that, you know? And I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. Like I was like, because it's magical when you do it. Like
it is.
I have seen incredible teachers teach. I've been in the rooms, you know, when you mix classes, I mean, it's like when I taught with Kim and Julie and Anita in International, and like we mix classes all the time.
Yeah.
And I saw each one of them teach and really like, you know, like that's why when I say like this place is bleeding talent and there is so much talent in the educators here, I'm not saying that just to be nice. Like, I mean, I've seen it. Like I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've been in your class. I've co-taught with teachers. I've witnessed it. Like I've been invited into classes when I was doing ACE and like with practicums and stuff. And I've like, you know, like we know we're not hidden in these silos from each other. Yeah. We're highly collaborative.
Yeah.
We're always open to sharing. We're yeah, I don't know, like that. And that really was sort of what made this place magical. And what I think, what I believe led to the incredible, like, teaching innovations here. Like, that's why when things, like, honestly, I remember doing that, you know, with, you know, I did I was talking with Flora, like, for the AI thing. And honestly, like, I just, you know, there was like, well, what's the impacts of AI on your classroom? Well, nothing really, to be quite honest. Like, it wasn't because we were constantly learning from each other. And we weren't, I find like language educators are used to a level of creativity in our classrooms. Yeah. Like it's high creativity. Like I said, like the example of me coming in and doing improv and grammar, right? Like that's actually not uncommon. Like I hear of so many things where like,
and it was innovation is wild.
And do you want to know
so good.
This? We were notorious for this. I actually have to say this because we were notorious for this. is when you were walking down the hallways any time of the day and you look in a classroom, if the desks aren't in their usual spot, it's usually us.
Yeah,
it's usually us, right?
Every time.
It's not like just a bunch of students staring straight ahead, like they're in a circle, the desks are off to the side.
Oh, yeah.
They're in groups, right?
Horseshoes.
Like horseshoes, everything.
Yeah.
It's us. Like it was our department because we are like, and that's even built into language education like methodologies, that it was like you create, you're active, you're using language, you're more engaged, you're doing things like, so I don't know, like when things like AI came, like, I don't know, like I felt like we were innovating daily right on the spot. It was like,
using it as a tool, and we were getting the students to learn to use it ethically.
Oh, I know.
And oh my God, then as a program chair though, Jason, my favorite thing was when I got emails from students that were generated by AI, and I'm like, I know that your English is not this good.
Of course.
It's so comical because they probably didn't even know what.
No, and that's the other thing about being a language instructor. Is like you're so, that's your gig. Is like you're like, I'm breakdown language. So like right away. You're like, oh, that's AI. Nobody talks like that. Like you're like, no, it's so cliche, or it's like, it's so generic sounding. You know? So I don't know. This was, I don't know. We had, I mean, there's a legacy to this place, and like I said, I've seen magic happen here.
Me too.
Magic, like from the point of view of like what I think makes for amazing education. Yeah. Like, and and it was. That's why I'm so thankful that I had my 10 years here, because like I wouldn't give it up for anything.
No, I wouldn't change it.
I wouldn't. I don't know. I think I learned to be it wasn't like I didn't come in as a great educator. I learned from this community. Yeah. It's this community that like I learned from, and I was still even to this day, and I never stopped learning. I never stopped learning from everyone around us. Like, and
the education that you receive working as part of a collaborative team of highly skilled experts. Yeah. Who are literally front runners in their craft.
You are.
It's like,
and I love that you
so much.
Yes, and I love that you call it a craft, because it is that. It's a practice. It's an art.
It is.
Like,
nobody can just not nobody. Not everybody can just walk into a classroom and make people learn. No. There is so much science that comes with it too.
Oh, there is.
So it's been really.
Oh, everyone.
Yeah, I've learned to be a better person.
We're like an art collective.
Yeah, we are.
It's like we're all a bunch of artists. In my view, I think.
Come and watch me craft this lesson. Oh my gosh, I remember. When I was. We'll wrap up soon. I know this is a long conversation. I remember when I was a first year teacher, I would have the most elaborate lesson plans, right? And I would have I made a whole table where it was like breaking down the time, the sequence and the scope of the lesson. Yeah. And then I had a column for materials, and as I got better at it, I kind of abandoned that, and it ended up being a sticky note on a piece of paper. But I will tell you, I've actually moved back to doing that again, because it feels like because you are crafting something.
You are.
The thought and all of the creativity that goes into it. Because if I get on a tangent, I will talk for hours about one thing, and the students can go, okay. Yeah. So, but then you look back and okay, by 10:45, I was going to transition into this because I need this in order to segue into that, and it's got to tie all together. And by the end of the day, you've made this big, beautiful thing that's so comprehensive. And anyways, it's just we could talk about teaching for hours.
Oh, we can. Yeah. I mean, I could. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm so glad that you had some time to talk to me today, Jason. And
I am too.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been more than a pleasure. I mean, this has been a real. I'm going to get emotional, but it's been a real honor.
Don't cry on the podcast.
I won't. I'm sorry. I won't cry on the podcast, but it has been an absolute honor working with everyone. In this department, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. I mean, it really made me who I am as an educator.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
and echo back to you, and I know that you'll do great things. I can't wait to see.
Well, right back at you. What's like?
Oh no, my great things are going to be laying in my bed and reading books. For a few minutes.
And then we
get back out there and we get right back on the horse. But So the rest of this podcast, I'm going to be talking to 3 more people, and they're going to be telling some stories about their time with what is currently, well, for one more day as the recording this podcast, the School of Global Access, and formerly CEIIA, and before that ESL and languages, and before that I don't even know what.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So the next guest is somebody who started in 1996.
I'm so excited to listen to this podcast. I mean, I'm so excited I was a guest, but I'm even more excited that I get to listen. Wow. So thank you for having me, and thank you for everything.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce my guest. I don't know if you're my first guest or my next guest because I haven't edited this yet, but
no worries.
Warm welcome to Jennifer to the podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jennifer Acevedo, and I work in the School of Global Access as an instructor.
Okay, Jennifer. Now, I know the reason I asked you to chat with me on this podcast is because you've been here a number of years. When did you start working at Mill Valley?
It's been a minute. I started working here in 1996.
Okay.
So I'm an oldie but a goodie.
A goodie. We're just going to go with a goodie. So 1996, you started. What was the name of the department in 1996?
Oh my gosh, what was it? ESL. I think it was just ESL.
ESL.
Yeah, and then it became ESL and languages.
Okay.
And it has morphed into many different names over the years, but I'm pretty sure it was just ESL, and it wasn't the School of ESL. It was just ESL.
Okay. So I'm curious, like, what that looks like. Now, I know I started here in 2013, and we were still teaching in Rocky Mountain Plaza. And we moved over partway through that semester. So I only worked in that building for like a couple of months.
Oh, you lucky thing.
I don't know. I've heard some good stories. Is that where your offices and classrooms were situated?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was working on the 4th floor of Rocky Mountain Plaza. And it was quite a building.
Yes. I think it still is quite.
Yes. Well, I think they've made it look a lot snazzier, but you can't change the bones of the building. And one of the program coordinators, that was the title, when I started, used to always remind me that it was built in the early 80s when there was a boom. So they built it quickly, not accurately.
Oh. Did you have like crooked walls and like doors and clothes?
Things. Well, I don't know if the walls were crooked, but nothing was perfect, definitely. And the thermostats were a big point of contention because they actually weren't connected to anything.
Good.
So if you pulled them out of the wall, they were just there as a placebo to make us feel like we had some control.
Well, like they literally didn't do it. They were just pretend thermostats.
They were real thermostats, but they weren't connected.
That's awesome. So working conditions are interesting. What did you teach when you first started?
Oh, you know what? I came from Mexico. I had been teaching in Mexico, so it was very like a private school, academic. I was teaching adults, and then I was running their children's program and preschool program. So I came here and had an interview, and then I just lucked out because it was the beginning of a term. They had staffed everyone. And then one of the teachers decided she was going to retire. And so they needed someone to fill her class for the whole term. And they didn't want to restaff. So I got a job for the whole term. Charles Pankratz was the coordinator in the full-time program then. And he asked me if I had ever taught literacy. And I said, no. And so he literally handed me a video cassette, which I took home and put in our video machine.
Oh, that's awesome.
And watched it over and over again to learn how to teach literacy. And I taught a class that was called Enhanced Basic.
Okay.
which was our literacy class, because at that time there was just one. There were lots of people who needed that kind of class, but we did not have a literacy program. So this was what they called it.
Enhanced basics. So
Enhanced basic.
going from teaching like very academic type stuff, jumping into literacy, which is a whole other ballgame. I know the feeling. Kind of did something similar, but like really interesting. I'm curious what you learned from that experience from that first semester.
I learned a lot about teaching literacy, but what I probably learned the most that first semester was strength and resilience, and not my own strength and resilience, but the strength and resilience of my learners. They were incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had learners from Iraq, from Vietnam. Trying to think of some of the other countries they had come from. Afghanistan. And they had been through unspeakable things and were cheerful and happy and excited to be at school and so eager to learn.
Yep.
And I had come from, private school where people paid for their classes, and since they paid for their classes, they expected to pass on to the next level no matter what they did. They were rather entitled. So it was a completely different experience, and I was hooked.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah,
I was thinking
incredible.
that must have like really put a little spark, right?
Yeah, like a bonfire.
Okay, not a spark, a bonfire.
A bonfire in my heart. Yeah, it was incredible. And over the years, I learned so much from every learner I taught about life. And I didn't teach them about life. I learned about life from them. And the importance of being grateful and being happy and sticking with things.
Yeah. I think that if you talk to any teacher who works with us in SGA, they're going to probably say the exact same thing about
Absolutely.
the students, because I got the same bug. Like when I'm thinking back, I came from teaching like junior high and high school, then I did a stint in pre-K, which was not for me. And then I jumped into teaching ESL because I was like, well, okay, I've done a little bit of this throughout my career, and they plunked me into a practical class.
Okay.
And I was like, what is this? I don't know what. Luckily, there was a whole program and a lot of people to support. But then you sit down in a classroom with students who literally have been through the ringer. And they're showing up for class every day. They're working their butt off, and they say thank you.
Yes.
When they leave every day. And you're like, what is this experience going from teaching junior high?
Oh, I can imagine that must have been very
They don't like it very much, right? To teaching this. And so, okay, do you have any students that like kind of stick out that really made an impression on you?
Oh, absolutely. And I hope I don't get teary when I talk about this. So I did a number of different roles when I started. When you teach ESL, you take what's available.
You jump around, do what,
and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I was teaching for a little while, and then we used to have the tutorial center, it was called, and it was support for learners who needed extra help. And I worked in there with Diane Hardy. And we helped students individually. We did assessments entry assessments for people getting into programs. But there was one student who came to work with me, and he worked with Diane sometimes. And his speaking ability was his language ability in English was very low. And he had probably some learning challenges. And we were looking at rooms of the house and furniture. We were just doing vocabulary. And he kept pointing to a picture of the house and saying, here, and pointing below it. And I couldn't figure out what he was getting at. And I said, oh, the basement. And he said, yes. And then he said, no bed, no bed. And we were going through vocabulary, no blankets, no pillow, no bed, no mattress. He kept saying these things. And so then I stopped for a minute and I said, do you mean you don't have a bedroom and you don't have a bed and you don't have a pillow or a blanket? And he said, yes. And it turns out he was in a very difficult situation and had been brought over more as a servant than anything else. And so we worked with him quite a bit. And one of the things that is special about him is the way that the whole community came together to support him. We had a counselor who worked in ESL at that time. And so we talked to her about it. How can we help this learner? There is something not right going on. So she contacted someone at Ilvark. They came in and spoke with him in his first language to find out what the situation was. They reached out and contacted Reception House to see if there was somewhere he could stay temporarily. They tried to find him a temporary job. Then a friend of a friend was a social worker, and he had a friend who owned a fast food restaurant. And so he asked him, he got him a job, and everything fell into place because everybody cared. And this learner was so dedicated to learning. He worked so hard, and he created even more of a community. He would get to know teachers in the hallway, and then he would greet them on a regular basis. He had a life skills worker who would help him out. So he set up a bank account. So he created his community at the bank. And so he had his routine, and on certain days he would go and visit people at the bank, at school, in the community. Everyone he came in contact with, he formed a relationship with.
Wow.
And he made his life a happy one. And he was cheerful, and he always greeted people with a smile. And he was kind of famous around the department. Everybody knew who he was. And he kept in touch for years and years. And he would phone just to make sure I was doing okay.
Oh, that's nice.
And to check on me. And if I was ever sick, he would tell me what I needed to do to feel better. And he would ask about my family. But he took on the role of caring for others, and it was incredible. So yes, he will forever be in my heart, and he made a huge impression, but he also made an impression through the reaction of people in the immigrant serving community. It was incredible. And so it got to the point where he had his own apartment, he had his job, he had a life skills worker who would help him with things. He had investments, he had RSPs. Like he did very well.
What a lovely story.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that I can't even imagine, because ESL has existed in this particular institution for probably 60 years since it opened.
I think since
I can't even imagine the tens of thousands of lives that were affected by the community building that happened here.
Absolutely. And this department, that's what we are. We're community builders, and that's what our students are, because they come here and they're building new communities, and they include everyone.
Yeah. And it's so much more than, teaching English.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I would say, in thinking of my experiences in the classroom here, teaching English almost came secondary sometimes to the community building that was happening, the relationships and the intercultural learning that was happening here. I keep saying it's still happening today.
Yes.
So I feel like that's something that I would really love anyone who listens to this to really understand the impact that language training here has had on the city is more profound than anyone can know.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the hundreds of teachers that have passed through these doors. And we all have a story like that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. And often we have many stories like that of incredible people who have come here and shown incredible resilience and love for their fellow man. If you walk into any of our classes, you see community, people from very different countries and very different cultures, eager to learn from their peers and to share and to support. I think the way they support each other is incredible.
Yeah, definitely life lessons to take away.
And we're so lucky,
yeah, we are,
as teachers, to be part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy we can still be part of it for the time that we have left.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story or those stories.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for asking about them. I really think that Canada is a wonderful place and it is a welcoming place. I think we're going through some bumpy times all over the world right now.
Yep.
But I think the best thing we can do is be kind to each other and focus on how much newcomers to Canada bring and share in our community.
Yeah, they do. And the richness, the richness and the depth of just humanity.
Absolutely.
It's really refreshing if you sit down and think about it, and if you think about the people that have impacted your life. For me as a teacher, the students taught me more than I ever taught them.
I agree.
I'll teach you a couple of grammar points, and we'll talk about pronunciation, and I'll teach you some strategies to read a little bit better, but you're teaching me how to live life as a better person.
Yes.
So
I think we're so lucky to be part of that.
Well, I'm glad I have had the chance to be a part of it, and thanks so much for sitting down and chatting.
Thank you for asking me to come and chat with you. It was a pleasure.
My next guest is Pat Kelly. Pat, welcome to the very last BVCFA podcast.
Well, thank you, Dara. It's really an honor to be chosen, and thank you for having me on today.
Well, happy to have you. So I'd love you to just introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, maybe when you started at the college with our programs.
Okay, great. My name's Pat. I've been with Bow Valley since 2009, so 16 years now, always teaching in. Is that true? Almost always teaching in ELL. I did a 1-semester stint in TAOS. Working with the work placement group there. I forget the name offhand, I should know that. But yeah, I've been with ELL since 2009. I've been teaching English since I finished university in the early 90s.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Where did you teach English before you came here?
Before I worked in Calgary at 3 small schools. When I worked in Calgary at Global Village, and then Maple Leaf Academy, and finally at Dukra. And I also taught a job interview class there, and it was a job interview workshop and a resume workshop, which is how I did TAOS here. And I worked for Lethbridge Community College at the time, now Lethbridge Polytechnic, but I worked for them for a year. And after university, I went to Japan for 3 years and taught in high school and junior high school.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of different kinds of experiences.
Yeah, it really was. Mostly with adults though. Since I came back to Canada, always college and always with adults. So always link.
What drew you toward teaching ESL in general?
That's interesting. I went to the University of Lethbridge, which has a large education program. And when I was a student, I thought about becoming a teacher, but I knew so many people that I wanted to do something different. So I got a history degree. And what can you do with a history degree? So I went to Japan to teach English.
Cool.
But while I was there, I really started to love it. I loved being in class. I loved teaching. Before I went, I coached high school rugby while I was a student. So, that's all teaching experience. But I really liked it. And then when I came back to Canada, it's what I wanted to continue. I always thought I would change, but 7 years later, after coming back to Canada, I still haven't changed. So I went out and got a necessary ACE certificate for this job.
Oh, cool, cool. So I'm thinking back to, you said 2009 you started
Yes.
here? 2009. So in 2009, rewind and think
Yeah.
about, okay, where was I in 2009? Can you remember the first class you ever had?
I do remember I had two night classes, and I remember one very well in the evening. Just fun people in there, and people with different stories and different backgrounds, and a lot of professionals that were working during the day
Okay,
and coming to Bow Valley at night.
yeah.
So I do remember some of the people in that class. I couldn't tell you which level, or if it was reading and writing or listening, speaking. I don't recall.
Okay, so part-time like evening class. That sounds fascinating.
Yes.
I think back to that, like I wonder where some of those students are now. Okay.
But yeah, and I do wonder, there was definitely one student in there that I remember quite well. And did Hilary tell you her story?
Absolutely, please.
So a young woman, professional type job in Canada, but on a short working visa, and she was looking for to get married, and that's why I remember her. Not to me, and I was taken at the time, but that's who I remember because she's super nice. And I thought, how hard could this be for her, is what I thought.
Yeah.
But she wanted to stay in Canada and was looking to get married and get a visa to stay.
To a Canadian.
To a Canadian, yeah, to a Canadian and a visa to stay. But at the same time, lovely person, and I couldn't understand why it would be any difficulty for her.
Interesting.
But I just remember that very well. She was very funny.
I wonder if she was successful. I hope she was.
Yeah, I never ran into her again, so perhaps not.
Well, I guess.
Yeah,
Perhaps not. So you've taught like probably a range of different like levels and skills.
Yes.
But Pat, when I met you, we were teaching in the practical program
Yes.
together. And we were teaching different levels, I think. Yeah, you were the level above mine, I
Yes.
think. And it was a few years in that program. What a great program.
Yeah, that was fun, and I say fun, but I mean, it was awesome for the students because they didn't really fit into the other academic classes.
Yeah.
So that program did a world of good for those students, a world of good for them. Yeah, I thought I learned so much teaching the practical, which is for me, it was mid-level or higher level literacy.
Yeah.
But learned so much and just learned so much from the students. And I try to teach them the way I think, and that doesn't work. So I realized I have to understand their experience a lot better and
Totally.
teach the way that they would have learned in the past. But it was a really awesome program for sure.
Yeah, and I think that I learned so much teaching in that program because I went from teaching high school upgrading directly into a lower practical class. I think the very first class was not even benchmark one. Like we had hello, goodbye, yes, no, and a couple of like small phrases,
Yes.
right? And it was just wild learning, because the dynamic of the students in that program are where they don't have a lot of education in their first language, right? And so what you're doing essentially then is you're giving them school skills, literacy skills, and language skills all wrapped up in one, which is quite, I don't know, requires quite an expertise to do that, hey?
Yeah, it really does. And we did a big program here, and some others took the lead on it for sure. But around, what was it called? I just had the word. Habits of mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Habits of mind, and
Yeah.
that's and again, a good learning experience, something I think that most of us know, but to go through and study it, and then how to teach it to the students, and how to stay on top of their own stuff and be responsible for their stuff, which of course they can do, but they weren't used to doing it in the way that we do it. And of
Yeah.
course, living in Canada, you better follow the examples.
Right, and navigate the systems that are difficult to navigate, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You've probably worked with hundreds of different colleagues.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure you've all gotten up to a few things in the past. Do you have any fun, like memories, with your colleagues from your time here?
I wanted to speak about when you and I did professional development. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So we were running a meeting and talking about that practical program and trying to explain it to various staff, to faculty, and upper management around the college and what we do every day. and who was in the front row of ours, but three PhDs that were
I remember.
dean. Yeah, they were all deans at
remember.
different schools
Yeah.
of the program. And they saw our little fun meeting as a chance, like we were defending our thesis, and they wanted to question why we came up with these ideas.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget.
I don't know about like authentic assessment or something
Authentic,
like that, and like getting an authentic product.
you rehashing Aristotle's theory of if you remember, I took that question and answered it and told, we're trying to talk about what we do every day. We're trying to give you that idea and we're not trying to defend.
Yeah.
But that is something I remember very well. And I remember definitely two of the PhDs that were sitting in the front row staring at us. And I'm glad they were there because it was a very good experience for me at that time.
Mhm.
I guess other people at Bow Valley, for sure. Oh, the name will lose me. Who was the hiring manager before Terry?
Dale?
Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dale hired me, and I appreciate that very much. And when she left, which was fine, but she gave me a lot of help through that hiring process, and then later becoming full time, and that not a ton of help, but I appreciated her advice. Never forget them. Steve and why am I standing against Steve and his wife?
Oh, I don't know. I'm so terrible with names. Like that guy that I worked with 10 years ago.
And I know them as Steve and Esther. Pardon, Steve and Esther.
That's right.
I can see you clearly. I just forget the names. That every once in a while, a student telling me to say hello to my wife Esther. Oh, huh? I'm not Steve. I'm not Steve. So I always found that funny.
Yeah.
And then last week, someone dug out pictures of Uncle Roy, and
Oh my goodness.
and he's so much younger than when Roy, of course, retired a number of years ago.
Yeah.
But those pictures are before I met him,
Yeah.
and it's plain as day that it's him. But he looks so young. But really, everyone, had some good friends who got let go or moved on, and I do miss them.
Yeah.
And then others that move on, that come and go quickly. But the best part of my day I'm going to tell you, used to be, I love the students and I love being in class, but over the years it changed. And maybe because I've been here this long, the best part of my day is walking down the hallway before 8 o'clock, before class starts, and saying good morning to everyone.
Mm.
I really do like that. I like seeing everyone. Working at home was a challenge for me because of that.
Totally.
And then now that we're back, I love to see everyone I work with.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with that, Pat, because I don't think that, and I've been thinking about this a lot, I don't think that you find or replicate the atmosphere that we have amongst our colleagues in School of Global Access. Like, I just think, well, you bring positivity and the jokes. There's always a joke.
Same old jokes, yes.
Well, I mean, no. But everybody just, I think, has a great deal of respect for each other, and everyone brings something unique to the table. And I think we all just have been existing in this lovely, of course, it's not always perfect, but like this lovely little bubble of, I think a great majority of us are happy to come to work every day, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Everybody seems to get along, and everybody has a different way of doing things and a different material to stress and what's important in that. But in the end, we all respect each other because we know everybody's doing a good job. And we
Yeah.
know that from our students too. Our students go through the system and go through the levels and tell us. Uh, so it's a great place to work like that.
Yeah.
You left alone, do my job and do it well. And then I left alone and try to volunteer and do something else besides that.
Yeah. Well, I know that of the 16 years you've been here, you've left an impact on everybody that you've come across, Pat. And thank you so much for chatting with me today.
You're very kind.
I hope the listeners will enjoy some of your stories.
And thank you.
My next guest is a good friend of mine, Renee, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. Tell us about yourself, Renee.
Well, hello. I am one of the two Renees. I am R2, Renee Clark. Renee Pearson is R1 because she's been here longer than I have. So years ago, we decided she's R1, I'm R2. Very briefly, we had an R3. She did not like to be called R3, and so she was always Renee Gale. But Renee Clark will forever be known as R2.
R2. Yeah, there's a funny story about that the Renee is getting mixed up. But maybe that's not.
No, I think it's a great story.
Do you want to open it with Renee R2?
I'll open it with the end of Renee's career here at Bow Valley, and then we'll go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, because it's been a lovely 18 years, but the end of it has also had its joys. But the end was just a perfect representation about the end of this department, where one Renee was invited to the layoff meeting instead of the other Renee to the layoff meeting, and I was like, "Huh, that's so weird. I haven't received my invite yet to HR to P&C. Like, where is it?" And so I asked Dara. I was like, I actually think I started this as a joke. I said they probably invited the wrong Renee.
Yeah.
And what happened, Dara?
They definitely invited the wrong Renee. Panic ensued. I cannot believe that. That was pretty funny. You know what? I almost wish that you had just let it play out. And she shows up to your meeting. That would have been classic comedic gold.
I know, I'm just too responsible. I couldn't let it lie. Had to figure that one out. But there you go. That was the end of my illustrious career here at Bow Valley.
So now tell us the beginning. So 18 years you've been at the college.
Yes.
Teaching English?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty close. I started as a summer, this was going to be a summer job.
Yeah.
18 years ago. That was
clearly it turned into just a summer job.
Absolutely. So I started 18 years ago. I started in the international department, and I was teaching a high school group of students. They would come in, and it was this group from Nanawa, Japan, and they came in, and they would be here for, I can't remember, 2 to 4 weeks. I don't quite remember. And I taught as one of their teachers, and we'd be teaching English, but then we'd also take like trips to Banff and Canmore. And I know, and I went, whitewater rafting and all of those things. I do remember our class was so loud that probably in the first week of being here, and I haven't told this teacher, it just came back as a memory now, but I believe Andrea Farron had come to my classroom one day to tell us that we were being too loud.
Of course.
I'm sorry, Andrea. I'm sorry, Andrea. It was like probably my first week here. And so I started so many years ago. It was a summer job before I went back into the school system.
Yeah.
And then in August, when I was prepping to go back into the school system, my boss at the time said, like, do you want to stay for the next year? We have like some international courses. And then I got really into we were doing workplace training. So I was with workplace training. I was going into different companies in Calgary and helping them identify the training needs, and then setting up some training with some of our other instructors, and then also teaching in the international department. And then very quickly, like irresponsibly quickly, I was suddenly like hiring people and doing people's schedules.
So rad.
I know. I think I hired Stacy Bousset.
That is wild.
It was so irresponsible. I was so young, and
because you were like right out of university.
Right out of university. Like I finished, April 25th, started here May 1st, and never took a break. Just kept going.
And this is it.
Yeah.
So you've done about a million things here.
I have.
I didn't even know that they had workplace training.
I know. We did some super cool workplace training. So I'd go into like companies, identify their needs, and what a different world. Like it was all about safety, right? And communication, because it was like, we don't care if they're speaking other languages. We just need to have one word for, stop, help, like emergency things.
Okay.
And it was very, very cool.
Neat.
So did lots of that. Did lots of like other workplace training things, international classes, and then our departments kind of merged. There was some drama in the college, some drama that may have resulted in my boss being indicted on some charges.
What?
I've had a very exciting career.
That's crazy.
I know. It was money laundering kind of thing, and so I know. And then I think,
Cool.
and then I think the college was like, "Oh, bugger, we got to keep this girl around. Like she's just seen too much and too short of time."
Oh, you can talk now. Mind-boggling.
Oh, it was something.
Okay, so then it became a different department. So you were in international and then you
Yeah.
joined with like, what was it called at the time?
Oh my
ESL?
God. ESL and languages, I think.
ESL languages.
ESL and languages. And so I joined up with this crazy crew. That would have been, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And yeah, and I've been there ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so right now you're in program chair for the
Mhm.
next, we're on, right now as I'm recording this, 23rd, we've got
Yep.
2 days left after this.
2 days of program chairing left.
Yeah, so, but you've been, you've taught different things. You've done lead on PBLA, which
Yeah.
for the listeners who don't know what that is a whole thing.
It was three of us were chosen to or asked to participate. It was Shannon, Grant, and I were asked to participate in what Terry then called Terry and I think oh gosh, I can't remember who it was. Maybe oh, not Isabel. I don't remember who it was. They asked us to participate in like a 9-week course thing, and it
Mhm.
turned into like 12 years.
Yeah, like it's been since I was here.
Yeah.
So
How long have you been here?
12 years. Portfolio-based language assessment. It's the binders. I remember the hours and hours of training that you and your crew put
Oh
on
my God.
to implement the new system from the
Yeah.
IRCC.
Exactly.
And it has stuck, surprisingly.
It is an IRCC mandate, like you have to do it. And so they chose, I think they chose well in that Grant and I are definitely like rule followers. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
they're like, we need people who will force people to do this. And then we need Shannon to balance us out and
Yeah.
bring some humanity to the group.
Oh, that's
And so
great.
it was a really lovely balance. And so we worked very closely together until both Shannon and Grant eventually left the college.
Yeah.
And then it was just me for the last few years.
Yeah.
But by then,
people knew.
yeah, people knew. It's been running smoothly.
It's been running pretty smoothly. So, okay, you have taught all manner of things. You've been a program chair. Is there one thing that you've done that's like, that was my favorite?
Oh God. I love the training part. Like obviously teaching, it's fantastic. That's why, instead of going into the school system, I was hooked.
Yeah.
In 3 months, I
Yeah.
was hooked and teaching adults who have their own lives, who
Mhm.
have so many things going on,
Mhm.
so many commitments, and they come in every day for 4.5 to 5 hours of class.
Yeah, they do.
Like we teach the most incredible people. And
Yeah.
so that is like that just, it reels you in.
Yeah,
How
it
do you
does.
leave?
Yeah.
How do you teach people who don't want to be taught? Like we always have a few people, of course, who are like, whatever, they don't do anything.
Yeah, one or two.
But the majority of people, like, I can't imagine ever teaching in a program where they just don't want to learn. Like
That's
where
like
you're
junior high.
force feeding. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see me teaching in junior high after this. But that's what kind of hooks you in.
Yeah.
So the teaching is the most incredible thing, but something that I didn't know that I loved until I was kind of forced into it was like the staff development, staff
Mhm.
training development. It is so delightful to have people from every level and part-time all the time. People like, hey, Renee, can we have a quick minute? And just go through an assessment. Go through like, how would you mark this? What would you do? What kind of feedback would you give? I didn't think I would love that as much as I did.
Mhm.
And it's been wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love that teacher part of it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely speaks to your character and the reason why you ended up as a chair, because that mentoring piece is a huge part of what you
Yeah.
do naturally. So good for you.
Well, I mean, not so good. I mean,
For now.
Yeah, exactly. For now, for the next 2
Good
days.
for you today. Is there like a student that sticks out that you're like, I'm never gonna forget that story?
Oh
I know I
God,
have so
there's 40. I mean, we still, the best part too there's so many students, but the best part is always where you can laugh with instructors and like reminisce about certain students. And so
Yeah.
still to this day, Tyler Elliott will get me, at least once a month. He'll come in and start talking to me about a student. He's like, hey, Renee, I'm having a real big issue with the student. this student is troublesome and this is what's happening and and he'll be referring to a student that we had a problem with like 2 or 3 years ago. And I won't say the student's name, but he gets me every time. He's like, yeah, it's Mark. I'm like, oh, you little bugger, get the hell out of my office, Tyler. And so those are the students that you bond with people over, the ones that gave you struggle, the ones that struggled themselves. And you bond with other people, and
Yeah.
you rely on other people to get you through those situations.
Totally.
But and one student I think about all the time, as many people who are listening know, our audience is very, very special. And some of them have really high needs, and sometimes we don't know that they have really high needs and that they need some extra support. And I had a student, she was a single mom. One day she just kind of came up to me and said, yeah, Renee, I don't think I can continue anymore. And so instead of just, like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry, here we go, we'll wrap up, and this is what we have to do, I just kind of like dug a bit deeper because I just kind of felt it with her. It's like, yeah, tell me what's going on. Sure enough, it was a money issue. I got her, this is when I was teaching, I got her some emergency, set her up immediately with our incredible LSS team. I don't know what it was called back then, but incredible people at the college.
Yeah.
We got her support, like emergency support, immediately, and then got her on the list for funding for the next term.
Amazing.
She finished, she graduated, she went through our entire college in a career program, graduated,
Wow.
and is working.
Wow.
And it's like, there's so many students that we may have missed.
Yeah.
But for every student that you catch,
Yeah.
I mean, life-changing.
You know what
Life-changing.
really is? Because I still walk down the halls and I see students that are like, hey, I'm graduating from nursing. Hey, I'm
Yeah.
graduating from justice. And I wouldn't have gotten here if I didn't have, the foundational learning that I got in your class. And
I know.
it's very gratifying.
One of my students is currently working in the library.
Cool.
She's been there for years.
That's amazing.
She's just like, hey, I see her in the staff lounge.
I'm working at the library.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
is
it's
great.
like, it's can be heartbreaking because you've missed so many students, but the ones that you catch,
Yeah.
oh
Well,
boy,
you're only one person. So, you
Yeah.
can't catch everybody.
no, of
But
course.
that speaks to the work that we have done in School of Global Access. Used to be every iteration
Hmm.
over the past 60 years.
Yep.
That speaks to the work that we've done.
Yeah.
Because you're one of, I want to say, probably thousands of teachers that have come through and staff that have come through and affected people's lives for the
Yeah.
better, right? You like to think that every interaction you have is going to make someone's day just a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
And I think that you're probably one of those people that your students will remember.
Well, it's wild to think like that our job, and so many people in the school, like in the, not only our school, but in the college, our jobs are so meaningful. Like you kind of forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, you've literally changed lives.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's so lovely to know that I've been a part of that for so many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many years. Yeah.
What a rewarding time
100%.
and a horridly sad.
I know.
Yeah.
It is like just heartbreaking because you think about, I think part of the sadness is you think about the future students you can't help.
Yeah.
Like who's going to catch that student?
Yeah.
Who's going to catch that student who just kind of is quiet in the back, but then you dig a little deeper and you realize, oh, you need emergency help.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah.
Who's going to catch that? And nobody might, but I think we also can't, we can't take away all of the students we have helped. And so somebody said that to me in the last week, where it's like, yeah, but you're kind of dismissing all of the people you have helped. There's a ton of people out there, and those people have all been helped. So
Yeah.
that's a nice way to think of
Yeah.
it, instead of just, oh God, we're leaving such a gap.
Yeah, and that can be a sense of maybe a little bit of urgent panic when you think about the people that are not going to be served by the
Yes.
closing of this program. Oh God.
Oh God.
But to your point, it is really important to think of the impact that you have had and the people that you have been able to serve and help. And
Yeah.
okay, so 18 years, we've got
Oh
3
my gosh.
semesters per year,
Yeah.
20-ish to 25 students per semester.
Yeah.
Do the math.
You do the math. I'm not doing the math.
That's
Somebody might
thousands.
hear me.
It's too early in the morning to do math. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of students that have walked through just your class.
Yeah.
And I think of all of the people that have come before us and done this work.
Yeah.
And the lasting impact that this program will have, I think it's profound.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And, you know, there'll be other places that can pick some of this up.
Yeah.
And I know other institutions that do an incredible job. The way that our department was, because we were in a separate building for so many years. We were in Rocky Mountain Plaza.
Yeah.
Our MP days,
Oof.
the carpets were disgusting, guys. But because we were so separated from the college for so long, and people who've been here longer than I can talk to this a bit more, but it was kind of wild, wild west. We did our own thing. We started our own processes. Like we do a ton of things that, like we do our own reg processes. We work incredibly well with reg, but we also
Yeah.
do our own kind of things with like student support services and reg and different things that other departments don't do. And I think we got away with that because we started so far away from the rest of the college.
Mhm.
When we were moved over, we had to really align with the college with so many different things. And that's just the reality of it. That's fine. But I think that's what made us so special is that we were wild, wild west. We could do kind of what we wanted to do
Mhm.
because no one was really, I don't want to say no one was watching. We shared the floors. Like I was literally on the floor with exec. I used to have lunch with Sharon Carey every day.
Oh, Brad.
And she really liked grilled cheese sandwiches. And so we kind of had our own way of doing things. And I think that has been a major part of our success.
Mhm.
Other institutions, I'm sure, can do that, but we've been so hands-on with our students here.
Yeah.
So hands-on.
Yeah.
From like meeting with people daily, supporting them, hooking them up with services, and then working with them for years, literal years, the same students.
Yeah. To
Like-
support them and get them through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. We've been able to do that for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. It really was. I think I taught in Rocky for 2 months before we moved over to, it was October that we moved from Rocky to North Campus mostly.
Yeah.
The classrooms. And I remember my classroom being so happy to say goodbye to it. And it had only been 2 months.
Oh yeah.
But it's a really different space and a different way of doing things. And I remember joining it was the Center for Excellence in Immigrant and Intercultural Advancement.
Yep.
Right? Is that
Good
right?
job.
And I started with the Center for Excellence in Foundational Learning, which is now SFL. Moving over and I just remember thinking, oh, this feels like home,
Yeah.
you know? And I was also hooked. As
Yeah.
soon as I walked, and I had no business being in an ESL classroom. I definitely oversold myself in that interview.
Good job.
I have an illiteracy background. I had taught literacy for like a couple of months to like 2 people.
You're like, I know my ABCs. I have a literacy background.
Anyways, I remember walking in and into the department and thinking, okay, this is like, oh, well, career changing. This is where I'm going.
Yep.
And so there you go. It gets its hooks in you.
It does.
And then you love it.
Why do you think people have been here for like 25 years?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's you just don't want to leave it.
No.
Nope.
Still don't want to leave.
Still don't want to leave until they
They're telling us to leave, but I don't want to go.
they rip this laptop out of my
I'm
hand.
gonna show up to work on Monday and be like, excuse me. Okay. Anyways, Renee, thank you so much for your time. I've taken enough of it. And to listeners, I apologize for the elevator noises in the background. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
Yourself.
Thanks for doing this. I'm looking forward to listening to everybody's stories.
And all the best to you.
Thank you.
If you've made it this far in the podcast, thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate the time that you have taken to listen to just a few of the beautiful stories that have come out of the School of Global Access. It's been a ride. It's been a ride. I'll just finish off with, thinking out loud. I've been here for just about 12 years, and I have never had a job that gave me so much satisfaction. Probably I can count on one hand how many days in the last 12 years I have not wanted to come to work, and that is generally not because of the work that was being done, but it was probably because I was sick or not feeling well. It's been wild, and the closure of the School of Global Access has been unprecedented. My hope for the rest of the faculty that are still at Bow Valley College is that you keep fighting the good fight, that you keep speaking up for yourself, that you keep demanding what you deserve, and that you keep collaborating and working together and growing the community. The biggest takeaway that I have had from working at the School of Global Access is the community. It's just been astounding, the relationships that have been built. Yesterday, which in podcast world is Wednesday the 23rd of April, there was a painting unveiled, I guess, for lack of a better word, on the 4th floor that came with a write-up about the School of Global Access to commemorate our time here. Our Dean Hannah was the one who sort of gave the speech about it and talked about what the significance was, and it's koi fish and the fact that koi fish swim against the current to create a better life, and that's what we've been doing. The resilience of my colleagues is absolutely mind-blowing, and I will miss them so much. And I know that people are going to move on and do different things with their lives, and I want to just remind everyone the impact that they've had on people's lives, and not just colleagues, but the students. In that speech that Hannah gave with the painting, she said the verified number of students that have come through ESL programming at Bow Valley College, and before that, Alberta Vocational College, was 50,000. We have served 50,000 newcomers to Canada, and I think made their lives a little bit easier in an English-speaking world. ESL may not be the sexy thing. It may not be the glamorous thing that people advertise, but it is the important thing. It is just as important as any other program because it gives people competencies that they need in order to live a meaningful life and to access careers and future education. In a community college, foundational learning should be preserved, should be celebrated, should be built upon. And we all thought we were doing that work until we were told to stop. It's been a sad couple of months, and it's going to stay with us for a long time. That said, we have to move on. And I want to leave on a note of gratitude. I'm so grateful for the time that I've been able to serve the members of Bow Valley College faculty on the association. Thank you for putting your trust in me and voting for me to be your VP Communications and Engagement. Thank you for coming to our events and our parties and singing along with me at karaoke and, doing the Name That Tune and having a good time. And thank you so much for your kind words as you pass in the hallways. I'm going to miss you all. I'll miss you all.